Absolutely.
Make that known and ask specifically about that.
No.
Yeah, I have a question. Did he apply to work here? Did he offer himself to work here? Or did you reach out to have him work here? Because it's going to be incredibly unacceptable either way. If a convicted pedophile just happens to want to work across the street from a school and at a church, that is obviously highly suspicious. If he's requesting to work here, that should be immediately denied. Obviously. If he was reached out to come work here, that is also equally, completely unacceptable, as you are inviting a person who has done awful sexual things to children to work right across the street from children. I have lived here my entire life. I was born and raised here. I went to that school, okay? The entire time I've lived here, and the entire time I went to the school, I thought of this church as just, oh, the nice church across the street, they occasionally do food drives or whatever. I just thought of it as a nice place. I'm not a member of this church. I am a member of the community though. But now, forever, going forward, I will think of this as the place that harbored a pedophile. And so will countless members of the community. This is a small town. You know how these things get around. I guarantee that within a week, everyone in town will know what has happened here. And the fact that this place harbored a pedophile around children. And I want everyone on this council to know, if you allow this man to work here, you are complicit in what he will do, which he will eventually do something to the children that are either going to school here, trying to go about their day, the small children, or the children that come to this church. If you do not deal with this, you are complicit in what this man will do to the innocent children who come to this church and go to that school. And Boris, I don't know Boris at all, but the judgment that it takes to invite this serial child abuser, this monster, to be around children, the most vulnerable among us. I mean, I'm not particularly religious. I know that Christ values forgiveness, but doesn't he also value the protection of children, the most vulnerable members of our community? How can you allow that to happen? How can you facilitate whatever this man is going to do to the children of this community in giving him more easy access? This person who has a repeated history of doing these awful things. I mean, the only thing this council can do is remove her. I mean, this is going to be a black mark. It's just damage control at this point. At this point, the entire community is going to have a severely tarnished opinion of this church, no matter what happens from here. But if she's not removed, it's going to be even worse. And from now on, I mean, this is going to be the church who invited a wolf among the sheep, who invited a pedophile to be in close proximity to children, and it's awful and it's unacceptable. And I mean, Boris, you should be ashamed of yourself, and I implore the members of the council to, address this. The harm is done at this point, but at this point, you have to do whatever damage control you can to mitigate this, because this is just awful. I mean, that's all I have to say, but this is incredibly unacceptable, just absurd.
Thank you. Because of my job, I work for a nonprofit. I'm aware of demographics and the statistics, and Lake County is number 2 worst county for drugs, fentanyl, you name it. Number 2, but number 1 are adult on child sex crimes. We are number 1 in California. Number 1. And these kind of decisions make that the crown. And us as individuals, I really would love to see this being an opportunity to us being more aware, vetting people a little more, because we know that they get released into our county. There's a lot of money in that. It's a business. And our higher-ups, unfortunately, love to line their pockets, and that's how they do it. And so we are number 1. working hard, I work for Slim, we work with homeless and all that, we work with pedophiles, we don't have a lot of those that come to us for help. But we try to help the victims, that end up in bad situations because of what they've been through. So I just hope we become more mindful with something like this, that we really pay attention to our choices and like I said, vet people more, because we are full of them. They are everywhere, the perpetrators are. Maybe keep a closer eye on children that aren't yours when you're around, you know, whatever we can do to get those numbers down would be great. So that's all. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Doris, how long have you known Daniel? And have you been in contact with him during his prison time?
Daniel became a member of our church in 1996. And just as I visited other people who were members of our church in prison, and even people who were not members of our church, I visited them in prison, in the county jail, yes.
And you were aware of his reason he was there?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm aware of other people who've been accused of
No, no,
things,
I'm asking.
and I'm just sharing with you. Yes, I am aware of the circumstances under which people are incarcerated when I visit them.
Anybody else?
I never got an answer to my question. Did he apply here, or did she invite him? Did you invite him here?
I did not invite him, this is his home church. He came to church here, after he was released, here to this church. He has worked in 2003. He was the coordinator of the monthly food or meal program that we had here, and I knew that.
Okay, so that didn't answer my question. It's one of two things. Did he request to work in the kitchen, or did you request him to work in the kitchen?
I asked him if he would consider that.
I would like everyone on the council to keep that in mind when you're determining.
I have a question also. Why was Alvaro pushed along and this pedophile put up on top priority to be the new cook in the kitchen?
Just temporary.
I know, but still, in general, why was this guy even thought of besides this other gentleman that had obviously talked to you about it, about wanting to be the cook here, helping out? Why was he passed along, and why was this guy put on priority over him?
Alvaro indicated that he would need, the same pay rate that he gets as a maintenance person. And, he indicated that he would need, an excessive number of hours that were beyond what we could essentially budget.
Okay, well, I know him personally. I don't see him, putting a stipulation on that as far as, how many hours he needs to have, because he's willing to take whatever he can get to make money.
Okay.
So, I mean.
Excuse me, was that not what was told to you by him?
My name is Calvin Haynes, and yes, I talked to Alvaro several times, and just what Board said, he said the same to me, that money was the situation, and that he wanted a minimum of so many hours. So that the meal program wouldn't have met those
So
hours.
besides that, was that explained to him, or was he just shut down as soon as he told you guys that, was he just automatically pushed aside, okay, no, he's not gonna be a candidate for it, or was it something you guys went back to him today? You're only allowed to have X amount of hours, or whatever it is, was that talked to him? Or did you
Yeah,
guys talk about that?
when I talked to him, he said, no, I need this many hours to go on. That he said, I make more money working at other people's ranches than dedicating himself to cooking here himself. I understood where he was coming from, and he's a very honest guy.
Yeah, no, I've gotten known over the last few months, and he's worked around my property, and to where, I can't say 100% no, but I couldn't see him, not, trying to at least help out, or at least, because he does have off time, so I mean,
I think it's hard to compare when you'd have to compare hours of what it does take and what did he want. I do not see him being unreasonable.
No one's contesting that.
Huh?
No one's contesting that.
Well, no, I'm just saying when we're discussing this, we're discussing something that can't really be discussed because you're saying his hours were more than what you were willing to do, but how many hours did Daniel put in, you know, for that time that he served? How many hours did Kim put in for the time to prep and make a meal? So I'm just saying you're discussing, I'm not gonna go into
I think we're getting into the weeds here.
Yeah.
And, for Connie and I, we won't be coming back. We won't be giving any more support to the church unless this gets rectified. I pray that the council, makes a motion to remove Lawrence, because I don't see any other way forward, for all the reasons that have been expressed here.
Can I just add one thing when you said about Kim, because I felt she got one bone rap. She was not alone when what happened or what she observed prior to knowing about Daniel. There was another lady there who actually started the conversation. So just so everybody knows that Kim was not a sole participant in that.
This is the first I've heard about it. It's kind of amazing to me. Today's the first day Judd texted me, asked me, and I didn't even know. So, I didn't even know. Yeah, amazing. I knew he was back in the church and he got invited up, but that was the first I ever heard about anything. And I never got to face it. But anyway, it's just.
And let me add, with that being said, with them putting curtains across here and putting curtains, you know, or whatever it is, to try to hide whoever's identity back there was wrong, because I can guarantee there's certain people that came in here that ate the food that wouldn't have even stayed if they would have known who was cooking or who was associated with the church. I mean, everybody should have been told who the cook is. It's exactly how Kim had, everybody was able to see who Kim was, you know, feel her, or get to know her personality, get to know who she is as a person. You know, it should have been on the same respect level as that. You know, people should have known who was, you know, serving their meals and who was a part of this. That was very wrong.
Yeah, we'll find out. You know, life's a learning curve. And the reason we come to church is to try to learn this book, try to live by it. You know, and nobody's perfect. None of us can walk on water. We all make mistakes. We've all sinned. You know, Boris has done a lot for this community. A lot. Supervisor. Been down here giving her money to help these people. You know, and who's the first one to cast a stone? You know, where's forgiveness coming from? Why do we say the Lord's Prayer? Because it sounds good? We're not perfect people, and we made a mistake. Yes, but let's move on. Let's learn from that mistake. Let's not crucify her. You know, I'm not a perfect guy. I was molested as a child. I got through it. He went to prison. But it does change you, and I understand where everything's coming from. It hurts. It hurts. And we all want to protect our kids. Whether he's committed a crime while he's been here, I don't know. But
How are you gonna get the confidence of the community? How's this church gonna get the confidence back?
that's a good question.
We have.
Sorry, say again?
Some board members have been singled out on Facebook.
Okay, okay.
So again, this escalation, it's not going away. This board needs to, I'm sorry,
No, you're right.
needs to take action. If it doesn't, I would like the phone number of who to call. Because I'm gonna fight for my church. You guys know my history here. These are hard, hard decisions. And again, I love Boris, but I don't see any way past this.
I think there's the issue of forgiveness and love, because I equally love Doris. I think she's a great pastor, I still do. But there's that role of leadership in a community that I feel you're holding a position, are you qualified? And she's just like, you know, you're saying with John the Baptist, you know, you're making radical decisions through your heart, but you're carrying me along with it, and I don't feel that's my path. I easily forgive Daniel because I don't know what he did, and I was back there working with him all the time, and he's an easy and nice guy to work with, and I was telling everyone that, and I'm still saying that, and I forgive him. It's always easier to forgive when you weren't that close to it. We know that as humans. You know, I can forgive people way over there, but you bring it home and it takes more time and more healing. And I think as a community leader, that should be one of the tools in your toolbox to know, wait a minute, am I gonna drag these people along? And I feel, I'm gonna use that term, that you didn't give us enough as a leader information, like, hey, how do y'all feel if I have my friend, because I heard other things about him, I know about how he used to do cool things, and I talked to him a lot, he never said, by the way, let me tell you what I did and how I'm on a path of, he never shared that with me. So I'm trying to separate it, like, it's okay in our hearts to say, thank you for leading us toward forgiveness, but leadership needs to infuse more of what the council is aware of, and the council's deciding in an informed way. And me, I'm here, even though I'm not a council member, I was, you know, doing a lot, and I didn't know, you know, what these people know, and so anyway, I think that's it. I think we need to discuss leadership skills separate too. You will always walk with Jesus in your heart, and you will continue to be a beautiful mother, and you will continue to be a pastor and a word of God. You're there, you're forgiving, you know this person. But as a political leader in a church politics, it's way over my head. That's why I don't do that job. And we have to listen to the congregation as far as leadership. That's how I'm articulating and understanding the situation.
She would like to speak?
Okay. I just want everybody who goes to this church to know that I don't go here. My granddaughter goes to school across the street. I don't feel anything bad or negative towards the church. I don't understand how the decision was made to let someone like that do that. And I'm all for forgiveness and second chances. Everybody deserves that. Everybody does. But you're putting him also in a bad position because it's like tempting him. You're giving someone a job or giving them a position that is going to be around little children. That's their weakness. And that's just not right. So the decision is what I'm questioning. The fact that his probation officer said it was okay is beyond me. I have no idea how they could do that because it's very clear how close they can meet and what they can do around kids. But I want you to know I don't have any bad feelings towards the church in general. Just the decision that was made to bring that person here without telling anybody, letting them know.
Right.
That's so. But the rest of it, the church is. I don't see anything wrong with the church, anything negative towards it as a whole. But the decision to bring that person here was just not thought through, and his probation officer is just wrong in all sorts of ways, so, just so you know.
Thank you.
Is there, might I ask a question, because we're asking, do we want to have a public meeting with the probation officer?
Does everybody want that?
Yeah.
You guys-
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I would think so.
I'd like to hear it. I think sure, you should meet with the probation officer, but if you open this up to a public meeting, it's not gonna turn out well. Because there's a lot of hateful people that would be glad to come in here and make a scene. I think that's wrong. That's my opinion.
I'm gonna go to you and then I'll go to you.
So, the decision of whether or not he's going to work here is still up in the air, is that?
No, he's not working here.
Okay, then what's the necessary reason for meeting the parole officer? I mean, the matter would be closed then.
Exactly.
Also, if he's working as a cook, the kind of individual that exposes his genitals to small girls and gets visceral pleasure out of it, like what was described there, you're having him touch everyone's food. Like, how many, is he constantly monitored when he's handling that? To be sure he's not doing anything to it?
He was monitored.
Yes, somebody was in there with him at all times.
Okay, but is he not on call? I mean, I
He is
know
not
we
on
called
call,
him in when to do different odd jobs.
He did an inventory of the freezers, both freezers and the equipment and spices. He did inventory. He cleaned the ovens.
Right, I know what he did, but I'm saying, is he sort of like Alvaro, where if you need something done, you would call him in?
No.
Okay.
And I just wanna clarify, did he volunteer to do this, or was it a volunteer position, or?
No, he was being paid to cook those 3 meals as well as the inventory.
And it was just 3?
Yes.
Because it was short term until somebody else
Correct.
was down.
So is it, he's not gonna work here, is that, because?
He is not
Okay,
allowed
so
to.
he's not gonna work here, so then I guess the only thing left to do is for you guys internally to figure out what you're gonna do about Boris as far as, there's this talk about forgiveness, and so I fully respect what you say, and I believe in that. I believe that people make mistakes. I have known many criminals in my career that have been able to reform and do deserve a second chance, so that's not really in question here. The real issue that this board needs to address when they're making the decision of terminating Boris is, how did that judgment call come to be? Because you also have to look into the future. If she's making these type of calls, where she is bringing a convicted pedophile into a church that has children and is right directly across the street from the school, then what's the next decision gonna look like? I think that, and I've known Boris for a while. I know she was a supervisor. I know who she is. I'm very familiar with her. But I also know that sometimes people just get to a point where they are not making good calls in their life, that they make poor decisions, and poor decisions have consequences. This poor decision has had the consequence of riling up the entire town. Okay, what's the next poor decision gonna have for a consequence? Will it be a lawsuit? Will it be, complete shutdown? Will the Methodist, overlords say, enough's enough? We've had, we don't need this kind of bad press? That's the question that each and every one of you have to ask yourself. Not about forgiving her, not about, you can forgive her personally, in your own spirit, in your own heart, in your own life, in your own mind. That's not the question. The question here is this person currently, as she sits there, suitable to run this operation and make the day-to-day decisions that will protect this church and its members going forward? That's the question, and the way you answer that is to look back on this previous decision and how terrible this has been. This has not been a good thing for anybody here. I'm sure this has been unpleasant, certainly been unpleasant for me and my family. The people I've spoken to are all very up in arms, very upset. Everybody at Harvester's, at the coffee shop, everybody knows about it because it's a small town and this gets out. Do you want Ms. Brunfeld to continue to make executive decisions for the Methodist Church, and do you want somebody who's made this decision to continue to be associated with the church? That's the question you have to ask yourself. You can forgive her all you want, but you have to make essentially a business decision as to whether this CEO is capable of being on the helm of this ship going forward.
Oh, no, it's just not, I'd like to know what the probation officer was thinking. Is there something else that we don't know? But if he's not gonna be here anymore, it doesn't make any difference. I just wanna know if he was gonna work here still.
Beyond that.
I guess I want to walk away knowing that, unfortunately, you guys are right across the street from the school, and your church. I don't know, I guess that I would pray that God would be the one in charge of his spirituality and his relationship with God, without violating the rights of children and everybody else. So going forward, I would like to know, is he gonna continue to even attend here? Because then he's here and the school's still there. And it doesn't matter if they're out on Sundays, you know, there's playgrounds, there's, you know, we're a small town, there's children everywhere. We can't contain him enough. So I wanna know with what's gone on here, is he gonna continue to attend here? Is he gonna, you know, I don't know.
That's a great question.
Well, I wanna know what rights the person has, because if his probation officer says okay, and then are we supposed to say at the door, no, you can't? I wonder, you know, because this, like Laura said, came here as a kid and went to Sunday school himself here as a kid. So, what rights do we have to turn someone away? Are we supposed to do that?
Can you bar someone from coming to church?
Yeah,
they did Richard Woida when he was coming here for the community meals. I know he got caught on some little kid stuff as far as dolls or pictures, something like that. And then I remember
Who's that?
Richard Woida.
Oh, yeah.
Outcast him from the church, and he was not allowed to come back to the community meals.
I'm not aware of that.
So I remember that very clear as day.
Now, just to clarify, his parole officer is not on probation. This guy is on CDC parole. There's a big difference between probation and parole. His parole officer does not have the authority under state law to grant him permission to be around children, period. He is not a legislator. All he is part of the CDC, California Department of Corrections. So that man's overstepped his boundaries, and anybody who's interested in checking that should be calling the parole office here in Lake County, speaking to the head of parole and telling him, hey, what kind of agents do you have working here that are allowing pedophiles to work at a church that's directly across the street from a school? Again, holding people accountable. Unfortunately, in this day and age, it appears to me that this pedophilia thing is like kind of, you know, oh, well, you know, that's a personal choice, or it's some type of adventure, or that they have some, you know, they should be pitied and taken care of because they're sick, or they're victims themselves, and all this other garbage. All that justification, post hoc rationalization of molesting children needs to stop. They are not the victims. The people that were chosen by those animals to take advantage of sexually, Those are the victims, those are the people that need to be addressed and taken care of. The other ones should, again, my opinion, be rotting in prison indefinitely, period. But the parole officer, I'm gonna be addressing that tomorrow morning with Lake County Parole. And finding out what.
From Ukiah, his parole officers from Ukiah.
Yeah, but they're assigned to this county.
Oh,
Through the CDC. The parole officers in Ukiah, but they're assigned here. That particular parole officer will be an assignee of Lake County, and I will be calling his boss tomorrow to discuss the judgment call of saying, hey, this is all fine. This is okay stuff, right? Now, again, it's nonsense, it's absurd, and the community, the state, all the whole country, the world needs to take a stand against pedophile and pedophilia, period. That is now, you got all these Hollywood idiots that are, oh, this is all good and all. No. All this stuff is bad. It's really bad. It hurts people. It hurts children. It devastates their lives forever. They never recover completely from that. Many of them commit suicide. Many of them are drug addicts. Many of them become alcoholics because of the experience that they had, because one selfish, sick individual decided that they were going to target them for their own sexual gratification.
Okay.
That is not right.
I think the point's been made, and I think the board needs to decide whether we're gonna make a motion to remove Doris.
Well, we can't do that publicly.
No, we understand.
So we will take care of that, but, she had something else.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, and maybe you can address this more. When I was here the other day, a party came in, a gentleman that represented one of the groups of children, and he called the sheriff's office in front of me, and the sheriff told him there were no terms or restrictions on Daniel. He could go wherever he wanted, and
The Lake County Sheriff's Office may not have the information, and they are not responsible for him as his parole officer is in Ukiah.
and they have access to.
I don't know.
The Lake County Sheriff's Office does have that information. They have it at their whim by one call to dispatch through the
Okay,
radio.
I'm just bringing out the fact that that's what.
Doesn't surprise
Yeah,
me.
and those individuals should be held accountable too. This is about accountability. So if the sheriff comes out and says, no, there's nothing we can do and we don't know what his restrictions are, all that stuff, then you're not competent to wear the uniform,
They
period.
indicated there was no term.
Yeah, that's
Well,
part
you get
of
a
it.
name, and by the way, Boris, what's the name of the parole officer? Because you wouldn't give it to me yesterday.
Adam Lorenzen, I sent it to, Gwen.
What's his name?
Adam Lorenzen, something like that.
Did everybody say what they wanted to say?
Just as for the question of do we let him come in or do we not, according to the law, he is legally not allowed to.
Thank you very much for